Yep.
Seen that Kanye documentary?
Great
Anybody
segue.
in the chat? Y'all seen that Kanye Genius documentary? It's up to episode 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory. I have a theory since you're talking about Tupac's Me and My Girlfriend.
It's a lot of notes.
Whole lot of notes, I'm sure. I got
First
a
of all,
lot
let's
to
take it
say
in here.
about this subject. But my theory is you saw how Kanye just kept rapping that, Me and My Girlfriend. I believe that was his song. And Jay took it because I never understood the production credit he got on that, right? Because he didn't do anything different than what the Tupac song was. You know what I mean? Because I remember back in the day when the song came out and you checking the booklets and it said produced by Kanye West, and I always wondered like, what did he do? Because we knew what Kanye's style was production wise at that time, especially with him working with Jay and on the Blueprint, the first one. And I was like, what did he do? And I think that was his song. And to justify taking it, he got production credit.
That's okay. So let's unpack that very, very quickly. That's a result of that shit that make your soul burn slow and you scrambling to put shit together.
I can
Right.
agree with that. I mean, I think that the Blueprint 2 was a
That's
result of a lot
that
of that.
that's where you can see how ether directly impacted his whole habitat, his whole movement, his whole style, and all that. Because that's the first thing I thought too. I was like, and that's why Jay did that bullshit. Which, by the way, he shouldn't have done.
He shouldn't have
It was
done.
awful. But
Tabanet says Kendrick can't complete the verses. He said line up 10K dot fans and their top five and all different. That's true. His
you want to
albums
know
To
what I'm
Pimp a
doing?
Butterfly, Damn are all one big long song. That's interesting. All right.
Ooh, that's an interesting point.
That is
I'm gonna do a Rock M primer. I'm gonna pick 20 Rock M songs, and I'm gonna pick 20 Method Man tracks, and I want people to like hear the difference. I want
I
people
agree
to.
with you though, man. Back to that whole blueprint too, and yeah, we'll do that and we'll hear the difference.
Yeah,
I never liked that O2 Bonnie and Clyde. I never liked it. I never thought he should have done that, especially coming off of the Blueprint. And the momentum for the Blueprint too. I mean, they had this momentum that it was a double disc, which I hate double disc. For anybody who watches the show, they know that I hate double disc. So that number one was a bad sign for me. Number two, doing the sequel so quickly to the Blueprint, but I always thought, okay, this is like the second version of Volume 1, 2, whatever, because he's done this before. So I wasn't that worried about it being a sequel. But when that Bonnie and Clyde O2 came out and Beyonce's on the hook and stuff, I'm like, what is
what is
this?
this?
Look for me. And then knowing the history with Jay and Pac too at the time, and it's like, what is this? And then Kanye produced because it was billed as a Kanye production. I'm like, huh? But now this makes sense because I think this is something that Kanye did.
Mm-hmm.
And, like you said, they were reaching for songs and similar to Tupac's double disc, because there's a lot of Tupac shout outs in the Blueprint too. I think there was an all hands on deck thing. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, ether going on, people's
Mm-hmm.
songs are getting taken. Just like
Mm-hmm.
when Pac came out of jail and it was an all hands on deck thing in Death Row. He was getting some Dre songs. He was getting some songs that were supposed to be on Dog Pound albums. Some songs that were supposed to be on Snoop's next album. Some songs that were supposed to be on Rage's album. And I think that was the mentality for the Blueprint too. And for me, in the documentary where Kanye kept going around to everybody quoting this, I'm like, yeah, he took one of his songs. That's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, you want to know what it is? It's the first time of many that he did it, and that's really how Watch the Throne started happening because Jay realized, oh, this is somebody that I can pull from. It starts right there.
Yes and no. The thing is,
Artistically speaking.
he could pull from Kanye as long as Kanye allowed him to be pulled from. Because what he would do, what Kanye would do, and I think this is a problem that Jay had with Kanye. Kanye didn't need him. Kanye was self-sustained in the sense where I can make music without you. I don't need you to go pick my producers. I make my own beats. I don't need you to jump on a verse. I don't need you to hook me up with this, and this artist. I already got relationships with artists.
Mhm.
So I think that lack of dependency on Jay is one of the reasons why Jay really didn't fuck with Kanye. And anybody who saw that documentary sees that Jay didn't support anything that Kanye had going on. One of the things that was really jarring to me, and I know you got a lot of notes, and I want to make sure I cover a lot too, because I feel
Yeah.
like when we talked about, episode 1, there was a lot of things I felt like I left out. But one of the things that stood out to me after the accident,
Mhm.
and Kanye could have lost his life and, lost his voice and his ability to create music as an artist vocally, because we've seen this before with the DLC. Instead of them reaching out for support on that level, his budget gets stalled, and he can't spend money, can't use baseline or whatever. So he has to go out there and make his way on his own. And long story short, for the people who haven't seen that episode, he makes Through the Wire, raps it with his mouth wired shut. And that's not enough either. Has to go out there and make the video on his own, spend $33,000 and do like a pretty much a viewing party for it to convince them to open his budget back up. Jay-Z doesn't even show up to that.
Mm-mm.
You can say whatever about Dame. Dame and Kareem showed up for that.
Hold on. So I want you to stop for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you what was happening. When I saw Dame walk in the room, I was like, oh, the rift is already going on. The rift is going on between Roc-A-Fella. It's going on because it's like, oh, Dame's coming to Kanye shit. But I was like, hold on. I'm like, but they just stopped bankrolling the project. What's Dame showing up for? Let me tell you why Dame's showing up. Because Dame's realizing that this is about to end. And so Dame is a businessman and a smart and astute one. And he's like, no, I want to know what everybody involved with Roc-A-Fella is doing and has going on. This nigga Ye just helped produce the blueprint. We just cut his work off. He's still dropping his project. I need to check up on it. He respected the game and the hustle enough to check up on it. The other guy had lost that respect for the hustle. I saw the divide when I saw Dame show up.
How do you not, as an artist, and Jay knows what it's like to, for people to look over you, right?
Yep.
And not believe in your style and flow and voice and that you're different. How do you not support that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. And even if that was a chess move on Dame's end, should have been a business move on Jay's end as well, to be like, look, I'm not going to be the only one that didn't show up.
Well, that's what I'm saying about Dame's a businessman and an astute one. You have to understand, he's from Harlem. He's from Uptown. He's a hustler, Mike. So he's looking at the situation always. And so another thing that was like astounding to me about the situation that like occurred was like just watching how they were so into PD and like literally anybody who wasn't Kanye. It's almost like anybody but this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see him behaving the way that he is behaving, like in the future, it's like, well, it all kind of started right there with how they were treating him. It's like, because your environment breeds certain things in you psychologically. And I'm looking at this and it's like, well, we don't even know what guy we were really going to get because they never really treated him the way they were supposed to treat him anyway. Like the industry did something to him. People did something to him. And it's like, he's kind of making everybody suffer from it since then in a way. But it's like when you see it, it's like, well, I can't kind of knock it because it's like dude's kind of been very close to being a musical genius. He's been right more than he's been wrong. And when you hear him spitting these verses to the college dropout that are now epic, that are now classic.
And they're not even listening.
They're not even listening to him say these rhymes, Mike. They're not even listening to him say these rhymes. I'm going to say it again. He's spitting out the rhymes to the college dropout throughout, two episodes so far. Mm-hmm. And people are just looking at him like, okay. And then you got people.
You know what I think that's about, though? Go ahead.
No.
What I was going to say, and I want to get to some of the super chats. Shout out to Ray Realms. I appreciate the support. And we're going to get to your super chats. But I think a lot of this is about how he was attempting to do it. And how he wasn't approaching this in a way where he wanted to keep the status quo. I think
Hold on.
that his positive spin on hip hop and his approach to it is why they weren't checking for it. I don't they had ears. They heard his beats. They picked his beats. His beats made a 5 mic album for their flagship artist. His hooks were there. He's given Jay hooks. And I don't care what Leroy Green says in the chat. He wrote Lucifer. He did. He gave you Encore. He gave you those records. So that part of it can't be in question. Your problem with Kanye West is the fact that he wasn't out here talking about killing nobody. He wasn't out here talking about slanging dope. And if he would have bent to the industry and talked about those things, they would have supported it. You can't sit here and tell me with a real ear, you hear Jesus Walks in its actual form and say, yo, we can't put that out. That's whack. Their problem wasn't with the music. Their problem wasn't with him. It was his approach. And he was going to put them out of business. And he did.
Oh, Mike, you saying that makes me need to go get a drink. Like, damn.
Let me get the Ray Realms super chat too, man. Y'all in the comment section blowing it up. We really appreciate it. Ray Realms says, Mike D and Coop, Benny signed Def Jam was a mistake. Was Benny signing the Def Jam a mistake? Conway fulfilled his contractual obligations and wants that Guinness bag.
No,
Should he go indie?
I want to answer all those questions, Ray, but I kind of just want to go back to something because that's very disturbing to me. Because while we've been talking about all this, and you know how I am, Mike, I'm just like a multitasker at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing this Rakim list of songs, and I'm thinking about how positive these songs are as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about the fact that it's like, you know, like these songs are like positive songs, like In the Ghetto, Mahogany. Like, you're right, Mike. Like, they were worried about him putting them out of business.
Yeah.
And if you listen,
because what does that do for Petey Crack, right? If he comes with an album like The College Dropout, all y'all shit is non-existent.
Right, hold on. If The College Dropout sells 4 million units like it did,
Like
y'all are out of business.
And
here's the reality of the matter. Y'all were out of business after The College Dropout dropped. Everybody except for Jay and Beans was out of business. Jay
retired.
Hold on. No. Real talk. After The College Dropout, it's like of that crop of artists that wasn't Jay. Wasn't it just like seemed like Cam and Beans was the only one that was going to survive?
I mean, you know, again.
And even Beans with the legal trouble, he was like, well, damn Beans. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a two-parter to that. You know, it's like I feel like also you understand that if his focus is taken off of producing records for you and now producing records for himself, then you're losing a producer. So they thought, right? But again, when you see a non-biased ear in Pharrell hear these same exact songs and he's going crazy, and I don't think Pharrell was gassing for the DVD either. Pharrell heard a verse from that Me and My Girlfriend, and he heard Through the Wire. It sounded like a rougher version than we actually even heard. And he's like, I heard 2 songs, man, and you my favorite artist, dog. Like, he was really real about that. And you can't tell me that Pharrell's ears are so advanced that he's hearing things that these people who work at this record label can't hear. They refuse to hear it. They didn't want Kanye West to succeed.
No, they didn't. So I want to highlight 3 people who you can clearly hear his vision. And all of these people are brilliant musically in different ways. Most Def, Pharrell, Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx is another one. You're right.
And most Def's reactions, Pharrell's reactions, and Jamie Foxx's reactions make you realize how phony the rest of the motherfuckers are. Straight like that. Straight up like that.
Well, it was more of agenda. It was agenda.
So we're going to call it what it is, because when you have an agenda and you're trying to get something out of somebody to make you money, you're phony. They're phony. That whole Luda spot, I was like, that's not even Ludacris. That's Chris Lova, the radio DJ doing a radio spot. I was like, ugh.
Well, he said he
That's
was in the
what I was
car
like.
writing a rap, but he didn't.
You wasn't in no
It
car
wasn't
writing
no
no rap.
rap.
You didn't take this dude seriously. He was tied to Roc-A-Fella and tied to Jay. You're a businessman. You're from Atlanta. This is coming at a time where you need to show that kind of face. You showed that face. You wrote that hook. You left. You did your little fake radio spot. All of y'all look fake compared to most Pharrell and Jamie Foxx. Did you hear Jamie? When you see how Jamie looks when Kanye is whispering the slow jams hook to him,
Yeah.
and you can't even hear what's going on, and Jamie's like,
And then once it's put down, you see the real excitement. You know what I'm saying? You see, even when Pharrell told Kanye, he was like, yo, man, you're going to make it. And when you do make it, make sure you keep the same intensity, man. Like,
and listen,
he was like, man, I got to get on my job.
and I want to talk about how smart Kanye is, because now that Kanye has made it and Kanye is blown up, who's he calling back in to sing? Because here's the thing, we didn't even know Gold Digger was that early. He's still getting pub for the college dropout while he's working on Gold Digger, but who he calling back in? Ye's a loyal guy.
Yeah.
You remember Jamie Foxx's response to Slow Jams? And he like, I need you to help me get this Ray thing off. And what Jamie do again? Jamie heard it. He started looking at him again like, oh, we going back at it again?
And this is right after Jamie was Ray. I mean, it's just genius how he was able to put all that together. And the fact that Slow Jams was recorded in Jamie Foxx's house. Like,
ridiculous.
You know, it's, first of all, it's sad that accident happened in the first place. But you know what? He got into that accident. He was out there doing work for Roc-A-Fella. They sent him out there to work on P.D. Crack's project. That's one thing.
Stop for a second. So listen how that changed the trajectory of everything. He got into an accident while he was supposed to be working on his first project, but the label sent him out to work on on some other dude's project, and he's
that they put ahead of him.
And in his mind and in his heart, he's like, this dude wasn't even around when I was here, and y'all got me flying out to do beats for him to put him ahead of me. And I'm telling you what, I saw when Siegel made that comment, I was thinking, like, I don't even know if Ye even goes if Beans doesn't say that he's going. You peeped that part where he's like, we gonna fly Kanye out. It's like, I don't even know if Kanye was with it until Beans was like, no, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
As in Beans like I'm actually want to orchestrate like this.
I didn't even peep that. I'm gonna go check that again.
Yeah. That part out where it's like Beans is like, I'm going too, because that's what I mean about how like the environment is. It's like when Beans said that, it was like Beans was faded, but he snapped back into it. It's like, why y'all taking Ye out to Cali to do PD shit? Like I'm head of state prop. Like, so you can just, it's a whole move right there. It's what Beans says on Feeling in the Air. 85% of communication nonverbal. I was looking at Beans nonverbal and I was like, oh, it's already itchy up in the room.
Listen, I'm seeing some things in the chat that I do want to address, because it was a conversation like this in the barbershop today. People are saying that Kanye stayed with Jay. I think that's a little no. I think that's a little bit overblown, because at the end of the day, Kanye was signed to Def Jam. Because Roc-A-Fella had sold their shares to Def Jam, right? He was one album in, he had the college dropout. And so Def Jam takes over. Roc-A-Fella's imprint is still there, but the shares are gone. Jay-Z retires and takes a job as Def Jam's president. Kanye is still contractually obligated to Def Jam. I don't think he stayed with Jay-Z or chose Jay-Z. He was contractually obligated to Def Jam. Jay-Z chose to take that job at Def Jam probably because Kanye's success for the college dropout. So if we want to really reframe these things, Jay-Z stayed with Kanye. Kanye was the one on the roster that was contractually obligated. He chose to take that job at Def Jam. The optics make it look like he stayed with Jay, but what was he going to do? Leave his contractual obligations that he couldn't do and go with Dame? Dame didn't have a label set up.
You know, Beans probably spoke about it most like just honestly. He's like, well, Jay the artist, so the artist gonna go with Jay. That's what Siegel said. He's like they artists. He was like, Jay's an artist, so he knows how to think and get into the mind, and he know how to touch and connect with the artist in a way that Dame don't, because he's a businessman. He's like, but he's an artist too. He's like, so the artist gonna go. Siegel's talking about this when The Becoming's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he's like, He's like, nah, because I remember him talking. He's like, I wrote both of them a letter. He's like, y'all like, it's like a marriage ending. Y'all getting divorced. He's like, I'm y'all main kid. I don't know which way to go. He's like, but the rest of the kids is going with the artists because they're artists. He's like, and so he's like, so that's going to happen. So he was saying that's like, that's not even knock the Dame's business, and it's not a big up to Jay's business. It's just saying artists tend to flock. It's like birds of a feather. What? They flock together. They're artists. They're gonna flock towards Jay naturally more than Dame, because Dame is straight businessman.
At the end of the day, though, if we're talking about, I mean, again, Kanye is just getting his flow going, and he just dropped his debut album. You're asking him to uproot and change everything. I mean, he was just keeping it consistent with the same staff. You hear artists all the time talk about what happens when a new regime comes in, right? Or what happens when they have to uproot and start at a whole new label. It's different. And just him as a creator, he's like, look, I'm going to keep this thing consistent. I don't think it's one of those things of him choosing Jay. Jay made it very easy because he stayed with the same machine that Kanye was already a part of. You know what I mean?
Convenient.
I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, he has his livelihood to, worry about.
I mean, when I say convenient, Jay has Def Jam associations before Kanye does. So it's like convenient, not totally like I don't want to say totally it's like, oh, well, Jay said stay because he had Kanye there. It's like, no, he had viable reasons to stay within his own rights.
The real Leonard Washington brings up a good point. He says The Becoming came out on Dame's label, Mike, Dame Dash Music Group. Kanye was just contractually obligated to Def Jam, like you said. Exactly. Now, Dame did have that. And again, I don't know what people really expect, because what else came out under Dame Dash Music Group, and who were they distributed by?
Let's stop for a second again. Do you want to know what Beanie Siegel's best project is?
I love The Becoming.
You want to know why?
Because Jay didn't have to sign off on his beats.
There we go. I mean, hold on, Mike.
It just is what it is.
Hold on. No, I want to pull up the track listing because the beats on there.
Yeah.
It's the beats, Mike, because he's been rhyming like this. The Feel It in the Air beat, the One Shot Deal with Redman, the Bread and Butter with Grand Puba, the It's On with Jay-Z, the Wanted with Cameron. Mike, my favorite Beanie Siegel song. One of the few rap songs that makes me tear up. Look at Me Now.
Feel It in the Air was produced by Heavy D?
Was it? I thought it was somebody else.
Well, somebody in the chat said that.
No. That's not right. That might be Just Blaze.
LP says that was it, Mike. It was only that album. So that was the only album that came out on Dame Dash Music Group. My question is why? And so with that being said, and with no distribution in place, sounds like it might be a situation where distribution was lost. I don't know if that has anything to do with Universal, but are we expecting Kanye West to go into a situation with no distribution, or stay right there where he's already contractually obligated? You know what I'm saying? So I think that the narrative to say that he chose Jay over Dame, I think is a little bit inaccurate. You know what I mean?
I thought that was a co-production credit. They're right. Heavy D produced Feeling in the Air.
That's dope.
That's his best track to me.
That's even more haunting. Rest in peace to Heavy D.
Yeah, it is. Mike, Feeling in the Air was the best rap song that year. I don't care what anybody says. Feel It in the Air and Look at Me Now were the two best rap songs I heard that year. It came off the same album. They got special.
Okay.
Bink is on One Shot Deal. Neptunes and Snoop are on Don't Stop. DJ Scratch on Purple. Just Blaze on Bread and Butter with Grand Puba. That's Just Blaze right there. He got Bula. He got Buck Wild. They'll Look at Me Now. Buck Wild produced Look at Me Now. Buck Wild's the same guy that produced Whoa. He got D-Dot on Its Own from Puffy's Hitman. This is what I'm saying. Like, this was the album. This was the
album that he was always supposed to make.
All the albums supposed to sound like The Becoming. You're damn right.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I do want to talk about too, man. One thing that stood out to me was him recording. Okay, it's two things. Him and Jay recording, right? Did you notice that when he was recording The Bounce from the Blueprint 2, it was just some weird beat? It wasn't the bounce beat that was
What's
actually on the
okay?
album.
So I wasn't tripping. I thought no, because I
No.
watched it late and I thought I was tripping.
No. And
I'm
see,
watching it like
when I
12
watched it for the first time, I was thinking, okay, it might be a publishing thing or whatever. This didn't get cleared for the documentary. But then when they went to D-Ray on stage, he played the song, so it wasn't that.
Right.
So you
Okay, so I
had
wasn't tripping about none of that.
so you had Kanye rhyme to some bogus ass beat, and you got to actually hear the real beat when you rhymed.
Oh, hold
Come
on,
on, man.
I'm just putting all that together when you're Mike. It was late when I watched it because it was like almost it's like an hour and a half long, right?
Come
I cut
on,
that thing on-
man.
I put that thing on at like 11:45 last week.
He had him rhyme to some bogus beat, man. Cause that wasn't Timbaland. Cause Timbaland produced the bounce or whatever that beat was. I don't know what that shit was, but he had him rhyme to some bogus beat. And then when the song came, it actually was what it was. Okay, that was one thing. And the other part, and I've always said this, talking about contributions and actually being there for the artist and being a part of the project. Never Let Me Down was clearly recorded during the time frame where his budget was frozen. And all of those elements were there. That's one thing. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Jay-Z's verses on that song come from the Hovey Baby remix.
Yes.
So the recycled verses, I don't even know if he went in there and re-recorded them for this. I mean, it might be some copied and paste type shit. Which is unfortunate because as epic as the college dropout is and as important as it is to the culture, Jay didn't go in there and actually be a part of that process and a part of that project being made. He just sent them verses. And, it feels like, okay, number one, college dropout, you sent in recycled verses. Late registration, you jumped on Diamond's remix and used that as an opportunity to get at Dame. Graduation, not there, right? Obviously, 808s and Heartbreaks is on some other shit. Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the Monster versus Trash, right? And and I'm So Appalled. I think that's the only real contribution that I can say to a Kanye album that Jay has ever given. But I think a lot of that's because of who was on the record.
No. Even for whatever you want to feel about the Never Let Me Down verse being what it is.
Dope verses.
It was still important. Mostly about the end. Hope, a living legend, and hope is still alive.
But those are recycled verses.
No, it is, but it was important.
And we know how Jay works, right? Jay works like a machine.
But it was
important. For him to give recycled verses, you didn't even try.
Well, hold on. That's what I was really about to get to. So, one thing that's always been said about his counterpart, Nas, is that, Nas done recycled a lot of verses. He done spit shit here and then spit it out over there. And I used to always say, it's like, well, that's just because he done written so much shit, and quite frankly, he don't give a shit about your shit. And this is evidence to it on the other side. Jay didn't care about Ye.
When has Jay ever recycled verses? Chris King says Monsterverse wasn't trash.
Yes, it is.
Serious?
Like
Darnell Lee said, man, we have to admit when people spit in some mid verses, man. Ghosts, goblins, come on, man.
The Monsterverse is trash, but you want to know what? The So Appalled verse is great.
It is.
Just Pusha T's verse.
It is.
But it's great. The So Appalled verse is great. I'm so appalled. I might bought them all just to show y'all how much more I have in store.
I mean, the Dark Knight line, everything, man. It's dope.
Dark Knight villain, die to be a hero, live long enough to see yourself become a villain. I went from the favorite to the most hated. But would you rather be overpaid or underrated?
More victories is for minor league coaches.
And Ye already told you we made you, you cockroaches.
You remember when Kanye said, I forgot what interview it was, but somebody asked him about, Nas being on We Made You. He's like, oh yeah, that's Jay-Z's favorite song.
Great.
I love Kanye, man.
Hold on. First of all, one of the great moments in rap history low key is the fact that Diamonds of Sierra Leone is track number 13 on late registration, and track number 14 is We Majors. Who got Jay and Nas back to back?
I'm gonna say this, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion, and this is no knock on Jay's verse because I think that Jay's verse on Diamonds is dope. I like the regular Diamonds better than the remix.
Well, We Major is better than both of them anyway, so it really don't matter.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Oh, We Major is better.
We Major's better than the Diamonds remix, but I don't know about the regular one. Close your eyes and imagine. Feel the magic. Vegas on acid seen through East St. Laurent glasses.
That's not even a Nas thing. That's the totality of the record. That's Ye. That's really cool on the hook.
No, I agree.
Better than some head on a Sunday afternoon. Better than a chick that say yes too soon. Until you have a daughter, that's what I call karma. And you pray to God she don't grow breasts too soon. My daughter turned 15 last week, nigga. Right.
Gang signs throwed up. Yo, man. He took it there.
That's how we growed up. YLC thinks Shorty write rhymes just to blow up. Get their first car and then IRS show up.
He ain't even had shit, but he had that shine. Yo, another part that was interesting to me too was the Jesus Walks part. As far as the visuals, when he was telling his guys, he was like, yo, man, you know, I love y'all and all, but, you know, I got to get hyped to do this video. And his man, Kuda, told him, he was like, yeah, you probably ain't even going to like the video, and you going to come back and ask me to do the video. And it's so funny. I always have liked that third version of Jesus Walks more. And when I look at it now, it all makes sense because that version looks like 2 words visually. It looks like Through the Wire visually. It goes visually with what's going on that album. And it's something to be said. It's so hip-hop when you talk about self-contained projects when it comes from the artwork to the production. And when somebody outside comes in like Hype, and Hype's great, but it just doesn't mix with what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It looks so out of place. Yeah. And conceptually, and the people who were there understand what's going on more than somebody coming in from the outside. And obviously, you know, Hype will have his own understanding, but I think Kuda's understanding of Jesus Walks is a little different. And I think he nailed it with the whole concept of Kanye walking around and continuously getting blessings from Jesus right in front of his face and just ignoring him. I always thought that video was brilliant. And it all makes sense now how it came about. So I really took that from episode 2. What were some of your takeaways from episode 2? I know you got a lot of notes.
I mean, we've actually covered a lot of them already. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's like I'm going through them. We hit like a lot of like the core stuff. I mean, the only thing I think we're missing is the fact that I think we're seeing how important Miss Donda West is to his rallying and support system. The support system is Donda because, and I'm going to say this again, I want people to understand what's going on. This guy, while all of this is going on, is easily one of the 10 best producers in hip-hop at the time.
Yeah, straight up.
And is one of the 5 hottest producers in hip-hop at the time while this is going on. And people are treating him terribly with the exception of Mos Def, Pharrell, and Jamie Foxx. I want all of you guys who deify these rappers to take note of what is going on in this documentary because it is my biggest takeaway. That's why it's like when I be up here and I be acting like a certain way, it's like, no, I done been around these rap dudes before. I done spent my life around these dudes. I done had run-ins with rap dudes. I got rap dudes that don't like me. Like, I don't care. Like, I know how you dudes really be. Like, when you be out in public, and this is the real evidence to the arrogant rap behavior by these dudes that like really think that they are God because they rap. And that's why I be up here. It's like, that's why I be up here sometimes. It's like, you niggas didn't even make Thriller or Purple Rain. Go like sit your ass down somewhere.
You know,
like,
it's interesting because
this is the proof. Like how Kanye is getting treated while he is making classic material for artists is the proof of how extremely arrogant these rappers are.
And he's making classic material himself. And if you can't hear that going on, you on some hating shit or something. There's no other way. There's no other way to even describe this. Like, you can't sit there and be a person who makes music, heard music, sees music, see the way people react to music, and hear these songs and sit here act like it's nothing. You hating at this point.
The biggest trick that rappers, hold on, Mike, listen to this. The biggest trick that rappers pull off, and this is why I love Tupac, they make it seem like that they're not emotional when they're the most emotional motherfuckers in the room, like every other artist, and they try to play this hard card like they don't hear it or they don't feel it. And that's why I love Pac, because Pac was honest about his emotions. Ye is honest about his emotions. You got all these dudes, Ye is pulling up singing the verses to All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, and these dudes are acting like it's nothing because you want to know it. That's that cool pose. That's that tough guy shit. But it's like, no, you dudes are emotional. You're artists. And y'all denied this man. And so it's like his arrogance that's on 10. It's like, well, they put his arrogance on 10 with I realize why his arrogance has been on 10 now. It's like, oh, y'all put his arrogance on 10.
If he didn't have that level of confidence and arrogance, he wouldn't have made it through the door.
Crushed his confidence.
Period. Yeah.
Like, do you know how many people, based on the footage that we've seen, would have been totally crushed by this?
Exactly.
By the weight of it.
And it's interesting, man, because this is in an era before, mobile cameras and, you know what I'm saying, and us being able to capture every moment. So a lot of this stuff, I don't think these artists ever thought was going to see the light of the day. You know what I mean? Like, most people didn't even understand the concept of cameras being around. They're like, oh, you're not doing this for MTV? Oh, this your man? Ain't nobody going to see this shit. So they didn't care. You know what I mean? Like,
no. Listen to this, though. This is what I mean about the arrogance. They didn't think that he was going to be big enough
for anybody to see
anywhere.
Yeah.
But let me tell you how quick the legend of it grew. And here's how I knew that it had became something and he had became something. By the time Game and Puffer in that studio playing that crack music beat, which has a whole nother set of verses, which means Puff was about to use that for something. Because they had Bad Boy shit on there.
I heard that too.
Right. Do you see how Puff is in that camera and how he grabbed that camera from his man? Because Puff's different than these guys. Puff's a visionary. And when that dude pulled up with that camera, Puff had probably already heard a couple stories. And then he's looking at where Ye was and where Ye had been. And he was like, nah, nigga, give me that camera. I'm going to be represented right on this part of history. Puff always
again.
Whatever you want to say about Puff, he gets it.
He does.
He gets it. He grabbed that camera. You see him in the camera? He like, yeah, nah, you're going to get me right up on this.
Puff is always where he needs to be. Leroy Green says, Jamie Foxx, John Legend, Common, Mos Def, Ron Fest, Consequence, Pharrell, Luda, Jay-Z, Talib. I don't know what that's a response to, but listen. Speaking of John Stevens, man, talk about humble beginnings. And shout out to him and where he's been able to take his career.
Yes.
I was told that Kanye gave him the name John Legend.
I heard that too. I heard that when John Legend first came out.
Listen, man, we got to cut the shit. There's no way in the world you could ever front on this man. Because he's another person that was there for all of this stuff that we're seeing right now. He's heard the stories. He's heard more stories. He lived it.
No. Forget all that. Do you see how bummy he looking playing Ordinary People on that piano back then?
Man, believed in you, man. You could never front on this man.
No. Remember where the millions of dollars came from. Remember, like, you see how he looked?
Kanye's a good dude.
You're looking scruffy.
Kanye is a good dude.
No, I'm going to tell you just like this. Like, his wife right now, oh, no. She wasn't fucking with that version of you, fam. You got life fucked up.
Listen, man, I got to give Kanye credit. He's a good dude, and I'm glad he's letting the footage speak.
Dusty playing Ordinary People. She was not pulling up on you like that, fam. You wasn't pulling nothing like that when you look like that. That's why I be talking about these dudes where they be forgetting where they come from. Like with this Andre thing where it's like, no. You got that commercial off Rap, fam. They be real brand new. They be dating all these famous people. They get their millions of dollars. They get these big homes. They get these tours and all this, and they forget. No. You was that dusty ass nigga playing the piano for Kanye. That's who you were. I remember who you were, dude.
Kanye gave him a great opportunity. He seized the opportunity. And not to mention the opportunity is one thing, right? The opportunity is one thing, but he actually produced for you as well and produced your best work, in my humble opinion. Like, I'm not really into the stuff that John Legend makes now, but that first and second album, especially the second one, once again, it's my shit. That's one of my favorite R&B albums of that era.
Oh, yes.
And Kanye did his thing directional-wise on that. and Heaven Only Knows is beautiful. Just
Ordinary
on those things alone, not only did he give you the platform, he actually put in the work after he gave you the platform. And I don't even want to get on Common, but you know, it is what it is.
We can get on here.
We know what B did for Common's career, and I know Common was a legend in hip hop before that. But what B did for Kanye,
legendary.
well, you know, for Chicago,
he's a Chicago legend.
He's
He's
Chicago legend before that, right?
Yeah,
but what B did for Common's career, he is still eating off of that.
No, he's a hip hop legend because of B. He's a Chicago legend before B. He is respected because before B. He's a hip hop legend after B. Difference. John Legend, Let's Get Lifted is the only John Legend album that I've ever bought because it was the only album that was worth buying.
Yes, John Legend has talent. Leroy says John Legend got talent, Coop. Come on. Yes, he has talent. But having talent and being able to make great music are two different things. And you can hear the difference of the music that John Legend made with Kanye West and the stuff he made without Kanye West. There's a stark difference.
I mean, talent is a fleeting thing. You remember O.J. Mayo, the basketball player?
I remember him.
Yeah, he's very talented. Could have been the next Dwayne Wade. That yayo though. Okay, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit.
The real Leroy Leonard Washington, says Kanye resurrected Common with B. He did. And I'm a person that loved Electric Circus. I actually like Electric Circus. Most of y'all don't.
Stop saying that.
But when B happened, the timing of B. This is coming after College Dropout and coming while late registration is bubbling. And Kanye has production all over the place. This is after the Foods performance on the Chappelle show. The buzz was crazy, and then he came with the corners. No, man, this was a different moment in Common's career, and I followed Common since '94. You know what I'm saying? I got on him with Resurrection, not on Can I Borrow a Dollar, but this was a buzz he's never had.
Well, let's go to Resurrection of Common, pun intended. The Resurrection of Common starts on the College Dropout with his verse on
It does. It does. Get Him High had people talking.
No, Mike. I'm one of the people that have been a fan of his from the jump.
Yeah.
That jumped off and did not jump back on. I can remember going to Six, my cousin, while we were in the studio and playing Get Him High for him. And I was like, he's back.
Yep. That's what a lot of people were saying.
I said, and look at what Cuz told me. This is the producer engineer in him. He said the MC in him is back. He said, but the delivery and flow isn't all the way back. Let's wait. And then the food came out. And I was like, Cuz. He was like, yeah, he's back. I was like, okay, and we got beat.
I think I just seen in the comment section, Leroy Green talking about Kanye had writing help. Who y'all think wrote the hook for the food? I walked in the crib, got 2 kids, and my baby mama late. Oh no. Who wrote? I mean, y'all have heard Common's music over the years, and y'all have heard Kanye's music. Who does that sound like to you? Did y'all see the actual footage of him handing Jamie Foxx the slow jam hook?
Did you hear?
And I know a lot of people want to talk about, who helps who writing. Are y'all gonna give Kanye credit for the shit that he's written for people?
I'm about to say, have you heard B? He helped put B together.
Period.
All the way.
Period.
All the way. Mike, the corner. The corner's the buy-in. You don't got to go to the food, Mike. He's literally spitting the hook to the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen to the hook for the corner. You think Common wrote that or you think Kanye wrote that? We want to talk about help.
Hold on. Mike, even when you're hearing the samples on the album, like Testify, it's like, no, it's Kanye. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. Matter of fact, you want to know some real shit? Here's how great Dilla is. Dilla is so great that you can hear when it's Dilla on the album just because it's like, oh, well, that's more of a hip hop beat, so that's not Ye. He must have called Dilla. As soon as they say come in, you're like, oh, that's Dilla. Okay.
Was that Dilla? I thought they say it was Kanye. I thought Dilla was...
Your World is Dilla for sure. That's straight.
No, It's Your World is Dilla.
Yeah,
I think the people...
Did they say Dilla?
Huh?
They say sounds like Dilla to me.
I think they say it's Kanye, I believe.
No? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can look that up. I think Dilla did 3 on there. Correct us in the chat if you can. But, yeah. I mean, what Kanye's been able to do in situations like that, and you look at Daytona, and you look at his individual career, shit is amazing, man. It's amazing. We got to give this person props. Yeah. Jordan House says they say it's Kanye. Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Let's see. Let me pull up the track list real quick. I know we're.
I'm already there. I'm already there. Yeah.
Well, what all did Dilla do?
Love is.
Love is. That's what I was thinking about.
That's
Love
yeah.
is, and obviously the last song, "It's Your World." And was it Real People?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, it's those three.
Hold on. No. That's Kanye. Real
Is
People's
it?
Yeah. Yeah, Real People's Yeah. That's
Really?
actually the one that I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about They Say. I was thinking about Real People because I thought that was Dilla too. So Dilla only did 2 joints.
Really? Okay. Well, Dilla had passed at that point, so they were. Kanye was picking what was actually going to fit in the scheme of what they were doing, I would imagine. But
he did the same thing on Finding Forever with So Far to Go with Bilal, which was the second version because I actually like the original version that Common and Dilla did with the original verses. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. Well, Common said he wants to do another album with Kanye. I don't know if that's going to happen, but look, I understand why, dude. I mean, your best album by far. And you know what? To me, and this ain't no disrespect, I think over time, I know back in the day we used to say Resurrection was Common's best album, but I think over time, like Water for Chocolate has kind of taken that second place to B. But B, in my opinion, as a Common fan, is by far his best album. It's not even a conversation.
I mean, can we have this conversation right quick about Resurrection?
Sure.
Resurrection for its time is a dope project and one that deserves notability, like in recognition. Obviously, I Used to Love Her is the classic and the seminal record on there. My favorite track on there was Watermelon.
Yeah, I like Watermelon too.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike, let's just be honest. Can it One Day It'll All Make Sense? Like Water for Chocolate and B are all superior projects. They just are. Period. Point. That includes One Day It'll All Make Sense. One Day It'll All Make Sense is better than Resurrection.
One Day It'll All Make Sense is actually a really, really dope album.
It is a really dope album. It's probably his most slept on project because that's the project that made me a fan. I'm not a big fan of Can I Borrow a Dollar? I like moments on Resurrection, even though I hear the MC in him. One Day It All Makes Sense is when I hear a guy that can be all-time great MC.
I think One Day It All Makes Sense not having that I Used to Love Her on it kind of holds it back. But I agree with you. It's a better album pound for pound. I'm just telling you why I think people hold Resurrection so high.
I get that. But the first 2 tracks on One Day It All Makes Sense, Invocation and Real Nigga Quotes, is better than everything on Resurrection except for Watermelon and I Used to Love Her to Me. You feel what I'm saying?
Black America Again was really good. I will give him credit on that. That was a really good album.
Is that the one with Red Wine on there?
Black America Again, Red Wine. Was Red Wine on there? Because the first one that...
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yep, no, that's Black America Again. Yep. No, that album's dope. Yep,
I like Finding Forever too. And
I'm not a big fan of Finding Forever.
You know, I like The Dream of the Believer too. I
don't like The Believer. I love Finding Forever. So it's like if I was ranking his albums, I would go B, Like Water for Chocolate.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Finding Forever.
Okay. One
Day It'll All Make Sense. And then I'm gonna go Resurrection. Probably. The Resurrection is gonna be his 5th best album at this point to me.
Huh.
Yeah.
Where's Black America Again fit? Because I think Black America.
Actually, Black America Again might be better than Resurrection.
I think it might be.
I Used to Love Her. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen.
Actually.
Because Black America Again had Home on it. Home was crazy. Red Wine was crazy. Yeah.
Red Wine was crazy. No. He had joints on there. Nobody Smiling wasn't that dope.
I think Nobody Smiling is towards the bottom for him.
Me too. So Resurrection would probably be 6 for me too, Mike. So that was an album that was considered, I remember The Source did a poll. It was considered to be like one of the top 5 most slept on albums of all time. But I don't think it's slept on anymore. I think all of it slept on ended up being rated and he ended up making better material. B and Like Water for Chocolate are like clearly superior. And so is Finding Forever. Those 3 projects are like blowing Resurrection out the water. One Day It All Makes Sense has more highlights to me.
Ray Realm with the super chat, he said Common is top 10 MC all time. When you get a chance, check out my previous super chat. You don't look. Let us remind us what the super chat was. You remember what the super chat was? It was something about Biggie, I believe.
Are we talking about Big?
Ray Ram was saying something. It was about a time. Remind us what the previous super chat was. You don't have to send another super chat for that one, but yeah, re-ask the question and we'll get to it.